DreAllDay.com.
Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. Today's daily motivation. Rules are not about fair. Now, I want to talk about this in two different contexts here because it's two different types of rules that I want to talk about. First of all is the rules of like somebody being in charge, like your parents or your boss or even the government, for example. And they make rules and they say this is the way that things go, and some people will agree with it, some people will disagree. So that kind of rule I want to address, and then also the rules like where we talk about rules like exceptions to the rules, like the rules being this is just the common way that things work out, and then there being sometimes exceptions to the rule. For example, most basketball players are tall. That's the rule, quote unquote, and there are exceptions. Like there might be some short basketball player who makes it every once in a while. So I want to talk in both of these contexts because a lot of people don't understand how to think about this. People know how to copy and paste things, but they don't actually know how to think. So let's talk about this briefly here in a way that hopefully those of you who are willing to think, engage your brain, can understand. First thing, when it comes to the rules that other people make arbitrarily, like your parents make rules, right? Your school teacher makes rules, your bosses make rules, and whoever has a position of authority relative to you in certain circumstances, they are allowed to make rules. Here's the thing, the rules that they make don't have to be fair because they are not in a negotiation with you. So my son is only 1 year old. When he's old enough to talk and he wants to do stuff and I tell him, no, you can't do it. Doesn't matter that he doesn't agree with my rule. For the most part, it doesn't matter. Why? Because I'm in charge. So I don't need his agreement for me to make the rule, nor do I need his agreement for me to enforce the rule. So when you set a rule, if you're the person in charge, you get to make the rule. That's the saying goes, the golden rule, right? What's the golden rule say? He who has the gold makes the rules. And if you don't have the gold, then you are subject to the rules. This is the way that it works in all of life. Whoever has the power decides what's fair and what's not fair. And if you don't have the power, then you are subject to the people who do have the power. This is the way that all of life works. And if you don't like that equation, it's probably because you're on the wrong side of it. All you need to do is go get yourself some gold and get yourself some power, get yourself some authority. So now you can make the rules and you can do things the way that you want to do them. That's the way that it works. That's how rules work. Now, in the other context of rules, like rules being a normal way that things go and being exceptions. For example, if I say most basketball players are tall, you want to make it in basketball, the one thing that'll probably help you is if you're relatively tall, because most basketball players are tall. Like the average man, I believe, in America or in the world, I think, is somewhere around 5'8", 5'9", 5'7", maybe something like that. And most basketball players, those of you who watch basketball on TV, for example, those players are pretty tall. These guys are 6'2", 6'3", and up. And then most of them are pretty tall individuals relative to the average man's height. And somebody will pop up and say, I'll say something like that. Somebody will pop up and say, well, hey, this guy was only 5'9" and he made it, or this guy was 5'6" and he played overseas for 6 years or something like that. As if this exception, this person being an exception, somehow invalidates the rule. This is not true. Okay? So a rule, it doesn't invalidate the rule. What it does is it actually reinforces the rule, because what exceptions do is they prove the rule. The fact that you can point out a few exceptions to a commonality proves the commonality. It's kind of like saying people will tell you that most people who graduate from college in the long run of their careers usually make more money than people who only graduate from high school. At least, let's just say people graduate from college up to today. Now, who knows? If the college bubble bursts in America, then that equation may change. But for now, that's the equation, right? So somebody may come out and say, well, hey, the guy who started Facebook and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, none of them graduated from college and they all became billionaires and made tons of money and started new companies. Yes, that is true, but there are exceptions. Most people are not them. Most people are not famous. They don't start billion-dollar companies. They work average jobs and live average lives. And the person who went to college usually makes more money than the person who went to high school. This is the rule. That's how it works. The fact that you can point out an exception to a rule is more proof of the rule. And somebody may say something like, well, just because something is the rule or just because of the commonality doesn't make it right. Some people say this. These are usually people who have been educated in this broken college system and taught by people who don't know, again, how to think critically and don't know how to think logically. They put their emotions in front of their logic, if they have any logic. Most of them have very little of it. Here's the thing. Something being a commonality doesn't need to be right, quote unquote, It does not need your agreement, nor does it care how you feel about it. A commonality is a commonality based on what is actually real and what is actually happening. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter what criticism anybody has of the system that created it or whatever circumstances are that lead to it. This is a critical thinking point that many people miss because, again, many people, especially those of you who are under the age of 30, unfortunately, this is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Many of you have been educated by people who don't know how to think critically. They don't know how to teach critical thinking, nor do they even want you to think critically because they would rather control you with emotion than actually challenge you to think with logic. Because if you think with logic, then a lot of the nonsense that they will tell you, you would end up rejecting, and then their authority goes away because now you're not going to accept the things that they're telling you. So this is a big game that's being played here. And I'm using this as a general rule. Now, I'm not saying every person that teaches you is this person, but I want y'all just get the spirit of what I'm saying here. Don't take it to the letter. The whole point is rules don't care about your feelings. All right, that's the general idea that I want you to get from what I'm talking about here today. When somebody makes a rule, it's because they have the power to do so. If you don't like the rule, then you need to get yourself some power so you don't have to follow it. Secondly, whatever a rule is, whatever the commonality is, the common outcome that is happening, which is what we call a rule, it does not care about how you feel about it or what your opinion is of it, because it is as it is. The thing is a thing. A reality is a reality. I don't like the fact that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. If I don't like that, even though it's a common thing, that's the rule, that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. The fact that I disagree with that, or I don't like it, or I think it's a product of white supremacy, or I think the government caused that to happen, doesn't change the fact that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. My feelings have nothing to do with it. So again, many of you, you must study and learn critical thinking. I got episodes of my podcast where I talk about this. These daily motivations I do relatively quick. My podcast, I go deeper. You want to learn more about that, tune into the Work on Your Game Masterclass. Comes on your favorite podcasting apps. We put the videos on YouTube as well. And again, it's called Work on Your Game. Look it up every single day. Been coming out every day for going on 8 years now. So with all that said, daily motivation. That's your daily motivation today. I send out my text messages. I don't do them on a regular schedule right now. We probably will change that schedule at some point. By the time you hear this, maybe we've already changed it. You'll see. Text me at my number anyway to be in my text community, because I still send messages out, just not on a regular basis. My number is 305-384-6894, and you'll be in my text community. Secondly, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel. You hit the notification bell, like and share this video. Let somebody who needs to hear this message know about it. Leave a comment on this video. Let me know what was the best action step you're going to take based on what you heard here in today's video. And Work on Your Game University, don't forget about that. That's the place where I do all my coaching, all my high level trainings, frameworks, and courses are all inside the university. You can join and become a member, get the 2 physical mailings I send out every month, the Bulletproof Bulletin and the Black Book, only as a member of the university by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link and number to my text, both down below in the description to this video. Work on your game. Dre all day.